way, is it everything mankind is doing perfect and as it should be?
I think that...
Which includes the protesting as well.
Absolutely. No, look, I think that this is another one of those important questions that's more important than the answer, and that deepening the question should be the purpose of our conversation rather than answering it away, you know. But I think that it's important to take the yes. Everything is perfect. I forget which of the Christian mystics, Hildegard of Bingen, one of those said, and all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. So I say yes to that too, you know, not that that's the only thing that you have to say yes to, but yes to that too. And from that perspective, I think one of the things that interests me is that people feel so much guilt about what it is that we've done, as if we are responsible for some bad thing that's going on. And I think that there's an important perspective that says, look, we didn't ask to be born. We didn't ask to be born in this world that is red in tooth and claw. We didn't ask to be born into a world that's full of hunger, and the only way to satisfy that hunger is by destroying other things and by competing against each other, and that the violence and the greed that we find ourselves saddled with, they were the very things that allowed us to succeed in the first place. Without those things, we couldn't have survived that incredible jungle of existence. And so now, those same things that made us so successful have become our undoing, and we can't go any further without somehow changing the very things that were selected to help us to succeed in the first place. So from that perspective, the guilt is totally misplaced. I see something so innocent about us that we wake up in this tragedy, you know. There's a Tibetan Buddhist meditation where you're supposed to run this meditation through your mind over and over again, and it goes, you are born fully grown, and you look around and you discover that you're in a battlefield, and in every direction people are fighting and killing each other, and you suddenly realize that there's a weapon in your hand, and suddenly someone's attacking you, and you defend yourself and you start fighting, and either you kill them or they kill you, but eventually they kill you, and you are reborn in a battlefield and in every direction. And you just go through this over and over and over again. And somehow a great compassion for our predicament stems from that kind of a meditation. And you know, there's something so tragic about us having suddenly woken up and suddenly find ourselves to be conscious and looking around the world, and right at that very moment, before we've really had a chance to develop the beautiful things that we also find inside ourselves, as well as the greed and the violence, we discover the love and these other things. And before we've really had a chance to explore those things, it looks like we're going to destroy ourselves and the whole context. There's something that I just asked the question that if we could feel compassion for that situation rather than guilt, whether we might not find it easier to discover that there may yet be a chance for us to find a way out of here.
Do you think that the earth itself needs saving, or is that like an egotistical sort of view?
Look, I certainly don't think that the earth needs saving. See, we are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction. This has happened 5 times before, and some of them have been more severe than this is likely to be. That if human beings are going to destroy ourselves and end the Cenozoic era, which started 65 million years ago with the last mass extinction, that if this is to happen, it seems unlikely that as large a proportion of the species will be extinguished as took place at the end of the Permian 232 million years ago, when over 95% of the species disappeared and everything that we know and love radiated forth in dazzling creativity from the remaining 5% of the species. So I don't see any predictions really that anything as far-reaching as that is taking place. That I think that if humans destroy ourselves, that we'll do so before we get a chance to destroy as much as that. You know, so this isn't something unusual in the life of the Earth. Of course, it's unusual to be a short-lived species that's born at that very moment that it's happening, but here we are. And so, from the Earth's point of view, perhaps, I mean, if the Earth has a point of view, perhaps the Earth is like, okay, let's clear the stage now because it's time for something else. That as long as all of the niches are filled, there's hardly room for that kind of great burst of speciation and evolution that takes place after a mass extinction. And maybe the Earth enjoys that process. I mean, we know nothing about what the Earth's interests may be in this, but the idea that the Earth needs saving is, I think, part of that incredible arrogance that is our undoing.
Sure. Do you think that the degradation of the outer environment is a reflection of the human inner environment and our separation from nature?
I think that the degradation of the outer environment of the world is a reflection, is a mirroring of the degradation of our inner world. And the part of this that I'm particularly interested in is the sense of paralysis and helplessness and hopelessness that we feel, that I believe stems from the suppression of part of our intelligence, that part of our intelligence which is our feelings. That we live in a culture where there's a profound denial of some really important parts of our intelligence. That when you think about our pre-human ancestors in particular, for thousands of millions of years, a tremendous intelligence was shown, and the proof of this is that not a single one of those ancestors was too stupid to survive to the age of reproducing itself. Every single one of them was intelligent enough to reaching the age of reproduction before being consumed, and during that whole time there was no thinking involved. All of that was done on the basis of feelings. Or you can call it intuitions or instincts, but what we call feelings is the ancestor of that intelligence. And so now we imagine that we can think our way through life. So 20 years ago, I used to think that if only people were aware of what was going on in the world, things would change. Now I realise that everyone's aware and nothing has changed. And I think that the reason is that thinking intelligence without the benefit of the feelings is helpless, is sterile. And so we need the rage and the terror and the anguish and the sense of horror to enliven, to add passion to the thoughts, because otherwise we just feel like overwhelmed. And what can one person do anyway, and it's all probably too late. And you know, so in the despair and empowerment workshops that I facilitate, that allow people to explore, that invite people, that encourage people to explore these feelings, what we realise is that deep down everyone thinks we're fucked, it's all over, it's too late, there's nothing we can do anymore. But that when those feelings get expressed, which never is allowed in the rest of our lives because it's letting the side down, and we're frightened we'll be overwhelmed. If I were to fully open myself to these feelings, I'd commit suicide, I'd become so depressed, and so on. That's not what happens. That when we allow these feelings, when we honour our pain for the world, a tremendous empowerment and positive energy arises up that is suppressed by that. And so the part of our inner environment that I'm the most particularly interested in is to recognise the intelligence in those feelings and to honour the intelligence in those feelings.
Sure. All right. It seems for all our protesting and environmentalism there have been small changes, but generally things that just seem to be getting worse. So what do you think is wrong with our problem solving and solutions? It's like we have the technology and knowledge to live in a more sustainable way, so what's stopping us?
I think this is where I would have to go back to the fact that without a powerful surge of citizenship, without a huge movement, the power of the corporations and the power of the economic system will prevent the changes from taking place. That governments are impotent to do anything without huge support from the people, and so I'm not sure what the conditions are for such a movement of the people to emerge. I've seen the beginnings of it before in my life during the 60s, so I know that such waves are possible, but there was nothing in the 50s that would have predicted the 60s. I was there for the 50s as well, and if someone had dared to imagine the 60s, they would have been laughed out of court. And so my own contribution to this is the only thing that's clear to me, and that's very much about deep ecology on the one hand, and encouraging people to become much more deeply connected to their feelings on the other hand. One of the people that I quote in the Despair and Empowerment workshops to encourage people to dare to approach those feelings that we've been so terrified of. One of the people that I quote is the Buddhist teacher Thich Nhat Hanh, who was asked by a student once, what is the most important thing that we can do to protect the earth? And his answer was to hear inside ourselves the sounds of the earth crying. And this was a stunning kind of an answer, not at all what anybody expected. And when I contemplate his answer, the only reason that I can think why this could be so is that it's only to the extent that we're prepared to hear the sounds of the earth crying that we are in a position to do anything about it. That if we shut that out because we're too afraid to feel it, our thoughts about the matter aren't going to be strong enough to give us the passion to really face this great monster of a culture that we find ourselves in. And in a similar vein, an ancient Buddhist teacher who lived in the 8th century, Shantideva, is remembered for one of his prayers, and Shantideva would pray, "May all sorrows ripen in me." And so, once again, he's not speaking only about his own personal biographical sorrows, the fact that maybe he was weaned too early or something, you know, but he's talking about the sorrows of the world, and he's not trying to keep them out, he's trying to make himself porous and to invite those sorrows in. And why would anyone do that? It could only be that somehow by becoming stronger at ripening sorrows, we're able to deal with these things in a spiritual way, and we don't oblige those things to manifest in the world as these intractable problems of violence and pollution and so on. And so perhaps teaching people the value and the safety of ripening sorrows, that's my contribution to creating the movement without which none of the rest of it's going to work.
You know, in the time of, you know, when the shit hits the fan, should we put gold away, or what's more valuable, seed and food and things like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm longing for the day when gold loses its value, loses its hypnotic attraction, and of course the things that really have value now are the diversity of the world, which is the palette out of which the future of our kind and the future of all life on Earth depends. So I would prefer to live in a diverse, rich, abundant world than an impoverished world. And so I think protecting the gene pool, both of our cultivated species and of the wild species, is the real gold.
Yeah.
So this is Word to the Mother by Drew Dellinger. Word to the Mother. I once was blind, but now I see. I understand that the planet is the source of me. Literally. Just like a mum gives birth to a babe, Mother Earth's given birth to everything that's been made. Word to the Mother. Source of every other thing, every being in the ring of creation. And every individual's a manifestation of the grace innate in this place, space and time. Expressing the blessing, caressing my mind. Holy osmosis, that's what the cosmos is. Boom, universe, earth, human. From the beginning, the spinning universe possessed a spiritual interior inside the manifest, blessed with a blast from the past, free at last as the Big Bang rang, sprang, sang from the start through the void, like a joy from the heart of the dark. And the light's the birthright of us all. You and I are all the fireball. A higher call inspires all with a sense of place. Let us find the divine mind behind every face. I've just begun to recognize the whole soul force. Word to the mother, word to the source. We've got to get back to the mother. We've got to get back to the earth. We've got to get back to the mother. We've got to get back to the earth. Word to the mother. So how dare we have the nerve to disturb the planetary source, the very force that brought us alive? If she ain't in effect, there ain't no way to survive. How can we see no wisdom from the ecosystem? This industrialized phase, crazed to pave highways, yikes, 50,000 toxic sites, nuclear power plants constructed with haste, without any clue what to do with the waste. Radiation seeping deep in the nation, losing patience with corporations and abusers, grinning like they're winning when we'll all be the losers. They ignore natural forces, deplete our resources. No remorse, we're off course, hold your horses. Mother, may I try to say why my society lost sight of the whole as we try and we try till we die to control the earth dream that can never be tamed and that can never be sold and that can never be named. What's a shame and as lame is that we thought it was clever to dam every river ever. Never, never, land is at hand until we see and rediscover. There ain't no other, it's absurd to have to say it, but word to the mother. We've got to get back to the mother. We've got to get back to the earth. We've got to get back to the mother. We've got to get back to the earth. The story of the mother, as I reminisce, was enough to make this brother eco-feminist. How can we limit the limitless exponential? Growth potential. Economy is secondary. Earth's essential. The mother exists in every wave on the sea, in every bird in the sky, in every leaf on a tree. Community, unity, you and me, family, all of us children born of 4 billion years of the blood, sweat, and tears of the earth. We need to let her be. Let her go. Set her free, let her fly, let her flow, let her grow and unfold the way the mother intended. Activities that damage the earth must be suspended. Listen, 'cause we're missing what the mother's advice is. She'll help us deal with ecological crisis. She's mightier than Aphrodite or Isis, and twice as creative illustrative of the point. When the earth gives birth to the now. Still, we try to milk every sacred cow. We need to chill until we see that no creature is my enemy. They're all kin to me. Earth is the remedy for the malady. She's the truth at the root of reality. The elements of my bones are left over from the swirling stardust of a supernova. Made by the earth and the breath of the one, reigns in the veins, in the flames of the suns. In the heart, each part contains the sum of the whole. Earth body, earth spirit, universe, soul. Word to the mother. You gotta love her. We've gotta get back to the mother. We've gotta get back to the earth. We've gotta get back to the mother. We've got to get back to the earth.